will be recorded, so we will have this available on our YouTube after the session if you'd like to review any of the details that we cover today, but I'm gonna get us started. So my name is Rachel Newberry. I'm the program director at Riot, so I lead innovation programs, and today in particular, we are talking about the Riot Accelerator Program, which is our kind of premier program, our most comprehensive way that we support startups. And so we'll dig into those details. I am joining you today live from the Gig East Exchange in Wilson, North Carolina. So Wilson is one of our fantastic partner communities. We've been working with them for a number of years, and this space, you see the front of the building right here, and I'm actually upstairs with a nice street view this afternoon. They just opened this beautiful co-working space in downtown Wilson, and this is where we will physically host our next cohort of the Riot Accelerator Program. Of course, COVID comes into play a bit. I'll give some detail on our plans there. But in particular today, we are talking about our spring 2021 cohort, which will launch in mid-February and wrap up towards the beginning of May. So want to thank Wilson for partnering with us in this effort, and we're excited to be here to support the already really awesome things that are going on in the entrepreneurial community. So I'd like to take a moment to introduce myself and also to introduce Riot as an organization. This Startup Accelerator is one thing that we do among many other activities, so I'll give a bit more context there. But first, to give a bit of my background is in startup support and building programs. Before I was at Riot, I was involved in a number of entrepreneurship programs at UNC Chapel Hill, where I did my undergrad, and then with a tech accelerator based in downtown Durham. And then I worked at Duke University for a few years with a behavioral science research lab. There I built and launched a program around the intersection of behavioral science and entrepreneurship. So that was fundamentally kind of a crash course for startups on how they can leverage behavioral science and how it's really important for people to understand how people think and make decisions so that you can design ultimately better products for people. And then also spent a lot of time at Duke facilitating original experimentation where behavioral science researchers were collaborating with entrepreneurs to take their products to the next level. So that's a bit of my background in kind of program development, helping connect entrepreneurs to the resources and mentorship that they need to grow. And then I jumped on board at Riot in 2018 to formally launch the Riot Accelerator Program. So just a quick snippet of background there. Riot for a number of years was supporting entrepreneurs on a one-to-one mentorship basis. And we recognized a need to scale that effort and be able to support multiple startups at one time. And so I joined to build out this robust 12-week program that could intensively work with startups and several startups at one time to create really rich cohort communities and an education that we bring to startups, and then layering in a lot of one-on-one mentorship. So we do this Startup Accelerator Program, and we also do a few different things that I'll quickly outline here. So we are, to our knowledge, the largest and most active global ecosystem for the data economy. So we are looking at, as we move from an economy driven by information technology and the internet to an economy that's fundamentally driven by data, we help companies large and small to think about emerging technologies and think about the future of the economy and where their business needs to evolve. So we run events. Convening is a huge part of what we do, and we actually started as a meetup group, quite literally. And so we still do small format convening where we bring folks together for educational workshops, lunch and learns, and so on. And then we also do larger conference style events that help people to learn around the data economy and meet each other and create business development opportunities. The last piece that I'll mention, we do events, we do educational programs in the Startup Accelerator, and then the third kind of big bucket of activity for us is this ecosystem that you see in front of you. So we operate a sponsorship network of about 85 corporate partners. Those partners are large multinational companies, recognized brands like Cisco and Verizon and Red Hat, all the way down to smaller engineering consultancies or software dev shops, even municipal governments like the city of Wilson. So this network really represents all parts of the technology stack, and all of these organizations are interested in being at the kind of bleeding edge of technology and taking their businesses there. And together, we're kind of greater than the sum of our parts, right? So we believe that in order to successfully pursue technology ventures and innovative ideas, we need to partner. And so a lot of what Riot facilitates is connecting our sponsors with each other, and the startups that we support, we kind of bring into that fold and connect you to the right partners to help grow your business as well. So just a little bit more on our kind of broader ecosystem before I dig into the accelerator program. This is truly just to give you a bigger picture of everything that Riot does, because the startups that come through our program are really entering into this much broader ecosystem with diverse opportunities. So you'll see that we have about 9,000 people in our network. Those are folks that participate in our Riot events, come to our lunch and learns, join our programs. So a lot of professionals and business owners kind of broadly in our network across the country. Events, this year obviously looked really different in terms of events, but we still ran over 60 virtual events with a lot of participation and value. And then there's some numbers here about our support of up and coming companies. So you'll see that Riot supported companies from before the accelerator to now. Our RAP alumni are responsible for creating over 750 jobs and raising almost 400 million in investment capital. And then the last thing I'll call out on this particular slide is you'll see that we have chapters in multiple places across the country. So we launched in the Triangle area, North Carolina. Now we work deeply in Wilson to cover the kind of eastern part of the state. But we are also doing more up in the Northern Virginia area and also out in Colorado. So beginning to expand nationwide to really broaden our support of companies and help them to take advantage of the data economy. All right, so now I would like to jump into what you all came for. So we'll dig into the kind of nuts and bolts of the Riot Accelerator Program. I'll try not to make this too long and lengthy. I'll certainly give opportunities for questions here at the end. And then I'm always happy to connect one-on-one if you're still curious about things that I don't quite cover. So let's get into it. The Riot Accelerator Program is a 12-week high-touch intensive program. It is ultimately for small business owners, entrepreneurs, existing startups that are at a point that they're truly ready to go to market, and they just need to figure out how to do that. So a lot of what we support companies on is getting their solution to a level of sophistication that they can really begin to work with real customers. And then we also help with the strategy behind how you take a new solution to market. And then in the midst of all of that, we're connecting mentors, we're connecting business partners, technology experts, all of the kind of people and inputs and resources that you need to pull together a strong plan and really get your business off the ground. This program is no cost to startups. We don't take an equity stake in the companies that we support. So we're really quite financially accessible in that way. And through the course of the 12 weeks, we are running workshop sessions. So you get really robust education. And then we're introducing you to dozens of mentors and people that can give inputs to what you're doing and help you to refine your business plan and your go-to-market strategy. We're currently operating the Riot Accelerator Program in Raleigh and in Wilson. We ran our first Wilson cohort in the spring of this year. So we're excited to be back in Wilson for spring 2021. And then, as I mentioned, we're doing work in Virginia and Colorado. I'm planning to run cohorts there in 2021 as well. So if you're interested in this local ecosystem, that's fantastic. We'd love to work with you. And then if you're out of market or have friends that are out of market and looking for support, we're operating in a number of other places. So that's really exciting for us. To give a quick picture of kind of where the RAP ecosystem is at today, we have supported 42 startups through the Riot Accelerator Program. That's across 6 cohorts. We're in the final week of our 6th cohort, which is running virtually currently. And those startups have created almost 200 jobs, driven over 100 million in revenue, which is incredible, and also brought in over 10 million in investment capital. So great growth indicators. Awesome to see the success of the startups that we have worked with over the past couple of years. And we're really thrilled to just bring more startups into this fold and help you to grow just like our alumni have. So that's kind of where we're at today. To talk a little bit about the program itself, like people are often curious around what is the curriculum, what do we cover during the program? So this is a high-level breakdown of the 12-week accelerator program. So first and foremost, we always focus on validation. So helping people really confirm that they're solving a real critical problem for a market that will pay for it, confirming that you've got great problem solution fit before you spend lots of time and effort and resources on building something that ultimately nobody wants. So we definitely talk about customer discovery and how you continuously engage with your market so that you're always serving needs and kind of creating a long-term sustainable business. So those kinds of practices are important for the life of your company, not just the early stages. So we kind of bring it back to those basics, those foundational principles that you will need to stay closely tied to run your business over the long term. Then the kind of middle meat of the program is around product development and business development. This is where we love to pull a lot of our partners in to teach on their subject matter expertise. So for example, we take a deep dive on data analytics, all sorts of software and hardware topics. And if you're someone that doesn't consider yourself a technology business, that's okay too. We teach like where are the areas in your business where you can leverage data, or you should be thinking about implementing technology tools to operate more efficiently or create new revenue opportunities. So we have technical expertise in our network that can help you take your business to the next level. And ultimately, we believe that every business at some level is a technology company. So we help you to do that. On the business side, we do a lot of coaching around go-to-market strategy. How do you prepare to work with real customers? Who are those first customers, and how do you design great pilot partnerships if you need to further test out your solution? And then we talk about sales, like how do you spin up a sales process? And then towards the end of our program, when we start thinking about growth, how do you scale that sales process? And how do you also think about growing your team? Who are the right people to bring on? What are the right roles, the right structure of your business so that you can continue to operate efficiently? And then also a lot of those growth topics feed into how you message, how you pitch your company, which will ultimately be important for any stakeholder that you're interfacing with, whether you are selling or you're looking for investment capital or so on. So we truly try to cover like the full arc of business launch and growth. And this is kind of the rough breakdown of the 12-week curriculum here. To talk a little bit about just on a weekly basis what the program looks like, we say that to participate in the Riot Accelerator Program, you are roughly committing 8 hours a week of in-person dedicated time. So that 8-hour allotment is covered by typically 2 workshop sessions every week. We'll do a 90-minute session where we, bring the cohort together. You're learning alongside other entrepreneurs. You're interfacing with subject matter experts. And then we oftentimes have, an office hour slot that's tacked onto that. So once you, learn about sales, for example, from a great sales facilitator, you then may have time in the afternoon to connect with them one-on-one to talk about your sales challenges in particular. So a couple workshop sessions, time to connect with the facilitators. And then those other, 2 to 3 hours a week are time meeting with us. So we spend a lot of dedicated time with every startup that we support. And we get to know your challenges and how we can either talk you through them or connect you to other people that can help you think through them. And then we also match startups with 2 mentors that stick with them through the 12-week program. So you're getting consistent guidance from others. And so typically you'll meet with your mentors on a weekly basis as well. All that to say, there's, basically 3 to 5 meetings that you take a week as a part of this program. But it certainly is you get out what you put in. So the more that you can invest with us, take advantage of the resources we put in front of you, talk to all of the mentors and people that will connect you with through the program, ultimately the more you'll get out of it. Okay, so I think I covered most of what we need to there. Again, please ask questions at the end of the session if there are gaps I can fill in, but we're gonna move on to what it looks like to apply. So one of the top questions that we get is, am I ready for this program? Am I the right kind of business? Am I qualified to apply? And so these are the 3 big points that I want to discuss here. One is, as an organization, you will hear us talk a lot about the Internet of Things, which is fundamentally the 4th industrial revolution, that transition from the internet to now the data economy. It's a bit buzzwordy. It's also quite a transient term, so you'll kind of hear it like phase out. But the point I'm trying to make here is that we don't want anyone to be intimidated by that jargon. And we take a very broad approach to what we define as IoT. We have worked with companies that do consider themselves tech startups, certainly. Those companies might be building proprietary hardware. They might not. They might be pure software company or SaaS business. And then we've also worked with companies that look more like a smaller Main Street business that might be a product company, or a company that doesn't at the forefront consider themselves a tech company, but they are leveraging technology and data in ways that make them really interesting businesses. So we're looking for companies that are leveraging data in interesting ways, and we're really open to quite a broad range of types of companies. This program is best suited for existing startups or entrepreneurs that are exploring a concept. I'd say most typically in terms of stage of development, we are supporting companies that have a minimum viable product, basic solution built, and they're looking for help bringing their technology to a level of sophistication that they can start working with customers. And they're also looking for support on that go-to-market strategy. And so that's really where we plug in. That's sort of our sweet spot. But we've certainly worked with companies that are at a concept level and just toying around with an idea, and they need to really vet that idea out. And then on the other end of the spectrum, we've worked with companies that have an existing customer base and are just looking at how to continue to improve what they're doing and how to scale their company. So relatively stage agnostic as well. And then finally, we're open to a huge range of industries, and we've worked with a huge range of industries. I'll show you in a few slides some of the alumni of our program, and you'll get a sense of how diverse our cohorts are across a number of aspects. But we find that bringing startups together that do a diverse range of things creates really rich community where the startups can learn a lot from each other, even though they may not be in the same industry. So we love that kind of diversity. So we're open to really a big range of things. Okay, let me talk briefly about just our application process. So we have a written application. It really comes out to probably 2 to 3 written pages of content. And beyond that, we will do a round of interviews with finalist companies. So at a high level, that's how we approach this selection process. But these are a couple of suggestions for what we are looking for in our applicants and things to keep in mind as you put together a compelling application. So fundamentally, we're looking for indicators of problem solution fit. So we want to understand that you have a really clear and specific problem that you're solving. You know, that problem is really well defined and research backed to some degree. So we're curious about if you've done customer discovery, have you talked to people in your market? Have you done some market research and you know, there are perhaps market trends to back up what you're doing. And then we want to understand how you have validated so far that your solution is the right fit to that problem. So we understand, you know, many folks may be at an earlier stage where they're still very much in that validation process, but we want to see that you have, you know, really thought through the problem you're solving and the right solution, and any indicators you can share with us on how you validated that this is like a worthwhile business to pursue is really great. And then a couple other things. We're looking for a viable business case. So what evidence can you give that there's a strong revenue model behind what you're doing? We really care more about that than we do about the nitty-gritty details of your technology. So oftentimes we'll see founders that are rightfully so really excited about the technology, and we love that, but they want to like deep dive into the details of the tech, when really what's important is there a business case for this? Is there a need in the market? And are there, you know, people that will pay for it? So really we want to see strong business cases presented. And if we have questions on your technology, we'll certainly bring those forth, but that's a little bit less important to us. And then of course, we're looking for a strong team. So what can you tell us about you know, your background or your skill set that makes you the right founder to approach this problem? And so we want to understand, you know, what your current team makeup is, but then also be honest with us about where you think your gaps are, because that kind of humility and awareness really lets us to, you know, plug in the right ways and understand what your needs are and where we can support. And then a couple of other points, just in terms of putting together a strong application. Be thorough, but balance that with being concise. You know, we're not looking for pages and pages as you know, go through and answer these questions. You know, give us all the information that we need, but you know, be as, you know, to the point as you can. Bring in data when you can as well. So anywhere that you can tell us, you know, some of the data points behind your market or how you've validated your concept, you know, anything that helps kind of like give a level of concreteness to what you are doing is helpful for us, particularly because we're looking at such a broad range of industries. We don't know all of those industries deeply. So when you can bring in data, that helps us to get a clearer picture. And then finally, relationships help to build credibility. So if you can show that you have, you know, sought support from other organizations in your area, or that you're talking with particular potential customers or working with specific partners, that helps us to understand that you are really pursuing this in a way that's going to set you up for success. And that's by bringing in the expertise and the partners that you need to grow. So where you can kind of present that evidence, that is a strong point to your case as well. Okay, so I have got just a couple more slides here, and then I'll open up the floor for questions. These couple slides, I want to bring forth some examples of the companies that we've worked with. So this will give you a sense of the kinds of startups that we've supported and some of their success stories today. On this slide, I in particular wanted to highlight the Eastern North Carolina companies that we have supported. This is not comprehensive, but a few great examples. Shift Auto came through our spring cohort, the first cohort that we ran here in Wilson, North Carolina. They are a Greenville, NC based company, and they launched a remote pickup and drop off service for car maintenance. So they work with car dealerships and they help provide a really convenient solution for car owners. And they launched this truly at the onset of the pandemic. They had run some pilots before then, but they started like really ramping up their sales process in March of this year. And what really was, worked in their favor is that they had this kind of naturally socially distanced solution that was well suited for the socially distanced world that we came to know very quickly. So through their time in the RIoT Accelerator Program, they onboarded their first 21 customers, which is incredible growth. And then they also recently won an NC IDEA seed grant. NC IDEA is a great partner of ours. And Shift Auto actually physically sits in this space. So Marcus, their founder, is right down the hall from me right now. So great things happening at Shift Auto. Kinky Tresses is another company that we worked with in our spring cohort here in Wilson. Shauna Moses is the founder, and she is based here in Wilson. She launched a successful e-commerce brand around natural hair care. So she had, had her own journey transitioning to natural curly hair and documented that via YouTube, and then eventually leveraged her chemistry background to create her own products, which then turned into a line of products and now a line of natural bath and body products as well. So Shauna really ramped up her e-commerce business during the RIoT Accelerator Program. She also opened a storefront here in downtown Wilson. So exciting things happening for Shauna. And at this point, she has doubled her annual revenue for this year, in the midst of the pandemic, which is fantastic. So Shauna's doing great. And then Opioid is a Wilmington-based company. We are working with them in our current cohort. They are working to solve the opioid crisis. So they help clinics to identify patients that may be at risk for dropping out of their opioid treatment programs to kind of help intervene at the right time and get folks the help that they need. And they recently won an SBIR Phase 1 grant. Many startups that we've worked with have gone the route of that kind of non-dilutive funding, which is fantastic. So they're moving into deeper research around what they're doing and off to a great start. And here, I won't talk about all of these companies, even though I love to share their stories, but really this is to show that RAP truly supports a diverse range of startups and a diverse range of founders as well. So this is a small subset of RAP alumni, but here we have, in terms of industry, energy, medical device, environmental monitoring, circular economy, skilled labor, mobile charging, electronics prototyping, and finally, even pet cremation. So I'm really not lying when I say we support a huge range of things, even a pet cremation solution. And what's really fun about this is that all of these companies, some of them have very kind of tech forward solutions, but other companies like Green to Go, for example, Campana, the pet cremation company, for example, came into our program wanting or kind of recognizing the opportunity to integrate data and technology tools into what they were doing, but they were coming to us to kind of leverage our expertise in that space to see what does that look like for them as companies that didn't initially consider themselves to be technology companies. So we've got kind of a range of highly technical teams to companies that, were not coming into our program self-proclaimed tech companies, but we have really a network that can support a massive range of companies. So trying to think what else to bring forth here. I guess another interesting aspect just in terms of diversity is just the different kinds of founders that are in this group. We've got, ethnically diverse founders, women founders, veterans, husband and wife teams, immigrants, new parents, mid-career professionals, recent college grads, nonprofit leaders, just all represented just in this small subset of the companies that we've supported. So we are true believers that this huge diversity creates really rich community, and our RAP cohorts truly learn so much from each other and find a community to kind of weather the crazy startup journey together. So we would love for you all to join this network as well. All right, and finally, perhaps the most important thing is the application deadline. So December 21st, 5 p.m. Eastern is when our applications for our spring cohort are due. My contact information is up here on this slide. I'm happy to schedule one-on-one discussions with you if you would like. In fact, if you are based in Eastern North Carolina, I will be back here at the Gig East Exchange on Monday, December 7th. So would love to meet and have like a socially distanced conversation if that is interesting to you. Definitely reach out to me. But at this time, I will stop talking and I'm happy to take questions. So please, if you have anything to comment on or question on, then please unmute yourself now and go ahead.
I have a question.
Hello.
Hi. Is this something that everybody in the team needs to be a part of, or just the founders, or how does it work?
Great question. So we've seen a number of things, a number of kind of arrangements work well. Some teams have a single point person that participates in the program and they'll kind of fill in the rest of the team as appropriate. We've also had teams that have kind of a business-oriented founder and a technical founder, and they will attend appropriate sessions and kind of divide and conquer. But in general, we would like to have at least one kind of dedicated person as a part of the program. And then, but we're also happy to include the rest of your team if that makes sense. So yeah, either of those kinds of arrangements work well.
And can they come and go like in different parts of is it disruptive if like they come for a couple, then they don't?
No, as long as we have, one person from your team at every session, we think that then you can like manage communications amongst your team well. But yeah, as I mentioned, we've had, business-oriented founders join, markets or sessions around go-to-market strategy and sales. And then we've had technical co-founders join sessions that are more about like product design reviews or data analytics and that kind of thing. So yeah, so really the one thing that we ask of startups that we work with is just keep an open line of communication with us, and we can help you all determine how to divide and conquer, or if you have that kind of one point person arrangement, then yeah, as long as we're in the loop on how you're approaching the program as a team, then we can make that happen really smoothly.
Great, thanks.
Yes, hi, I have a quick question.
Hello, go ahead.
Yes, you mentioned that you're going to operate your program out of Wilson. Does that imply that companies located here in Raleigh won't be able to participate?
So yeah, let me speak to that because things obviously look a little unpredictable with COVID. So we will have this next cohort be physically based in Wilson and partnered with the Wilson community. However, we, in every cohort that we run, have startups that are from a range of geographies, I'll say. So for example, in our last Wilson cohort, we had 2 Wilson-based teams, 2 teams that happened to be based in Greenville, a couple teams from the Triangle area, and then we had a team where there were, the 2 founders were in California and Paris. So we really have a kind of range of folks from different places. We've also seen companies for example, we've had a couple of Raleigh-based cohorts where founders travel back and forth from Charlotte to participate. So those kinds of arrangements can work pretty well. The caveat here is that with the pandemic, this year, for example, of course, we've run everything virtually with actually a really high level of effectiveness. So we've seen that virtual programming works quite well. We kind of joke that we're disappointed about that because we love having people together in the same room, but we won't do that until it's safe for us to do so. So, this next cohort, while it will kind of formally be Wilson based, it likely will be at least a kind of hybrid program where we will accommodate remote participation. We may do things like some one-on-one meetings in person, but if it's not safe for us to get groups together, then we'll do all of our workshops virtually. So ask that you all be patient with us and kind of figuring out how to best arrange this program. But I think we'll have the opportunity for folks that are outside the region that maybe wouldn't be able to travel in, participate remotely. Does that answer your question? Really
I'm sorry, I'm still on mute.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, sorry. So I guess your answer is long and short. Yes, I could be able to apply and see how that turns out.
Absolutely.
Okay,
yeah.
Great.
And we're happy to just have a deeper discussion one-on-one if on how it makes sense for you to participate. So always happy to dig into those logistics. What else can I help with?
I have a question with the mentors. Are they generally people that understand your science or in your industry?
Yeah, so let me share a little bit about how we pair mentors, and I hope that'll answer your question. We attempt to make highly tailored matches in terms of the two mentors that we pair with you for the full 12-week program. So one thing that we do when we finalize our cohort, we will ask startups to give kind of their top priorities in terms of mentorship, areas of mentorship that they need the most support on. And then we also kind of make our own evaluation and inputs into what kinds of mentors we think would be really well suited to your stage or your industry. So we often try to find folks that either deeply know your industry or your technology, and or folks that have deep expertise in the kind of area of your business that you need the most support on. So we work to find just good folks that'll give you, different perspective or help, give you the inputs that you need to address the next challenges that you have to reaching those next critical milestones. So that's how kind of we match. It's sort of, it's a bit more of an art than a science. And then throughout the program, because we spend a lot of one-on-one time with all of our founders, we can supplement with other connections. So where you have a specific need or some other challenge to dig into, we'll pull in other folks to have those discussions with you. So you're not just working with us and a couple of mentors, but you're working with us, a couple of mentors, and kind of our broader network, if that makes sense.
Hey, Rachel, thank you for having this.
Hey, George.
To that point, can you comment on the partnership or the relationship with the Wireless Research Center?
Yes. Great question, George. So some of you may or may not be aware that we are part of the same 501c3 nonprofit as the Wireless Research Center of North Carolina. That side of our business kind of operates as a separate P&L, is one way to look at it. But ultimately, that facility is a state-of-the-art testing and certification lab based in Wake Forest, North Carolina. So they do engineering services and also can help with all of the testing and certification processes that you would need to bring a wireless product to market. So startups that we work with that have a need for that kind of expertise, we certainly, make the connection to the wireless center, and we have a certain amount of dedicated kind of in-kind donation to enable some of our RAP startups to work with the wireless center, free of charge up to a certain point. And then, we would figure out what it would look like in terms of like what kinds of services you need, or if you need to go through a certification process. The wireless center is certainly one option for that, but then we've got connections to other test houses that can also serve those, and we're not shy about making those introductions as well. Does that make sense, George?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you. Anything else, everybody?
What are the dates for the spring cohort?
Yes, the cohort will launch on February 17th. And then our official end date is May 5th. So we'll run through the first week of May. And typically, I didn't cover this exactly in this detail, but what we typically do in terms of our schedule is we usually are running workshop sessions 2 days a week, same days and same times throughout the entire 12-week program. So you have a really explicit, consistent schedule up front. So we find that obviously makes it much easier to kind of plan around and fit this program into your schedule. So I believe this may change a bit, but this spring cohort, we are likely running the bulk of our programming on Wednesdays and Thursdays. And then we would have a standing one-on-one meeting with you that we'll schedule in advance. And then with your mentors, it's kind of up to you to work with your mentors and their schedules to find a consistent time to meet. So there's some flexibility there, but with the rest of our schedule, we are consistent throughout the 12 weeks. All right, any last questions? Going once, going twice. Cool. Well, thank you all again for joining me briefly this afternoon. I hope this gave some more detail on our program. Again, I am happy to have deeper one-on-one discussions. If you'd like to talk, please shoot me an email. And yeah, I hope to see applications from you all. Deadline again is December 21st. Hope everybody has a happy Thanksgiving next week, all the circumstances included. But yeah, thanks again for your time, and hope to meet you all soon.